Everything I've done for you. Honey, I love you. Sarah, shut up!
The moment her baby was born, Mary feared the worst. But what started as a mother's anxiety spirals into obsession, a high-tech implant, and a world where nothing Sarah does goes unseen, until the day the watchful eyes disappear and chaos erupts. The story opens with a woman named Mary, undergoing a C-section to deliver her baby. Right as the child is born, something briefly goes wrong, and Mary is overwhelmed with fear, convinced her newborn hasn't survived. The nurses quickly calm her down, assuring her the baby is perfectly healthy and placing the infant in her arms. Mary names her daughter Sarah. It's never clear whether Mary's intense anxiety began during that terrifying moment in the operating room, or if she was always naturally overprotective. Either way, as Sarah grows, Mary becomes obsessively vigilant, constantly imagining danger around every corner. Even simple things, like walking to the park, send her nerves spiraling. When a neighbor's dog barks loudly, Mary freezes in panic at the sound alone. Sarah, now 3 years old, is the opposite. She's curious, playful, and eager to explore. She wants to pet the dog, but Mary refuses outright. At the park, Sarah runs off to the swings and climbing equipment, while Mary keeps her eyes glued to her daughter. Her focus is briefly broken when another mother strikes up a conversation. In that short distraction, Sarah notices a cat and wanders away from the playground to follow it. When Mary turns back, her nightmare seems to come true. Sarah is gone. She panics immediately, imagining the worst. Moments later, a nearby neighbor finds Sarah unharmed. The entire incident lasts barely a minute, but it shakes Mary to her core. Terrified of ever losing her daughter again, Mary signs Sarah up for a cutting-edge experimental program. They arrive at a sleek, futuristic medical facility filled with white walls and glass panels. The company's name, Archangel, looms across the wall, paired with a logo resembling a mechanical eye, hinting at exactly what this technology is designed to do. A nurse guides them past cheerful images of smiling children and into the procedure room, repeatedly reassuring Mary that the treatment is completely safe and thoroughly tested. That reassurance feels questionable, especially since the procedure costs nothing. Sarah is seated in front of a tablet playing cartoons to keep her distracted. A doctor briefly injects something into her head with a needle. It's over almost instantly, painless, and Sarah doesn't even notice. With the implant now inside Sarah's brain, the nurse introduces Mary to a paired tablet called the Parental Hub. Through it, Mary can track Sarah's exact location, monitor her vital signs, and even see what Sarah sees through her own eyes. The nurse explains that the system also includes a filtering feature. If Sarah encounters something that raises her stress hormones, the implant can automatically blur or distort whatever is causing the reaction.
I'm just pairing it with Sarah's implant. Okay, we're all set.
Mary doesn't quite grasp how that works, so the nurse demonstrates. She switches Sarah's cartoon to graphic war footage. Sarah's cortisol levels spike almost immediately, triggering the filter which dulls the images and muffles the sound. Sarah can no longer properly process what she's seeing. Mary hesitates, uncomfortable with the idea, but the nurse emphasizes that the filtering feature is optional. Later, Mary tells her father about the implant. He dismisses it, accusing her of being overly controlling. He argues that children used to roam freely and survive just fine. Mary fires back, reminding him that when she was young, he let her wander, and she came home with a broken arm. Her father shrugs it off, pointing out that she recovered, didn't she? Soon, Mary starts relying heavily on the Archangel system. She checks Sarah's visual feed during games like hide and seek and silences the sound of the barking dog on their walks. When Mary is called into work at her job as a physiotherapist, she leaves Sarah with her grandfather but takes the Parental Hub along. While at work, she receives an alert. Sarah's stress levels are spiking. Mary disables the filter and sees through Sarah's eyes that her father is suffering a heart attack. She rushes home immediately. After returning from the hospital, Mary keeps a close watch on her father while Sarah goes to the kitchen for a snack. Even from another room, Mary sees what Sarah is doing through the hub and reminds her not to eat more than one cookie. The system becomes a permanent fixture in their lives. Mary finally feels the peace of mind she was promised. Despite initially saying she wouldn't rely on the visual filter, Mary ends up using it more and more. When her father eventually passes away and is buried, the implant blurs Sarah's view of her mother's grief, shielding her from seeing Mary cry. Sarah grows up under constant surveillance. If Mary is upstairs working, Sarah can still ask for feedback on a drawing she's coloring downstairs. Mary simply checks the visual feed and responds. Loud noises no longer bother Sarah. When the dog barks, she barely reacts. At school, however, things are different. Other children relentlessly mock her for the implant, calling her names and accusing her of being a walking spy. During recess, they watch a violent video, but one boy tells Sarah there's no point in showing her. Her implant would block it anyway. The boy named Trick tries describing the video instead, using vivid language. Eventually, the implant recognizes the conversation as distressing and blurs him from view entirely. The only phrase Sarah clearly hears is his description of blood as thick red juice.
You see much blood? It's like juice. Thick, red juice.
Later that night, Sarah draws a picture of a man bleeding heavily, inspired by Trick's words. Even the red scribbles from her colored pencil are blurred by the filter. Driven by curiosity or frustration, Sarah picks up a sharp pencil and pricks her finger. Blood forms, but it too is obscured. When Mary receives an alert about rising cortisol levels, she rushes to Sarah's room and finds her repeatedly stabbing her own hand with the pencil. Mary grabs it away, and Sarah lashes out, slapping her. Mary takes Sarah to see a psychologist, secretly watching the session through the parental hub. The therapist shows Sarah a picture of two people fighting and asks what they're doing. Sarah calmly replies that they're just talking. Later, the psychologist tells Mary that Sarah doesn't appear to be autistic. He also reveals that the Archangel program never made it past its trial phase. It was banned in Europe and will soon be shut down in the US as well. He urges Mary to disable the system entirely. Back home, Mary follows his advice. She turns off the hub and locks it away, telling Sarah the Archangel is no longer active. Sarah becomes frightened. She's never truly been alone since early childhood. Mary comforts her, promising everything will be okay, and sends her off to school without the digital guardian watching over her anymore. Now, with the Archangel system completely off, Sarah experiences the world without any digital filter. Walking past the neighborhood dog, she sees and hears it fully, and the sudden fright almost sends her veering into the street. Back at home, Mary can't resist, just for a moment reactivating the hub to make sure her daughter has made it to school safely. At school, Trick gets into a scuffle that leaves him with a cut lip. For the first time, Sarah sees real blood, and she points it out to him during recess. Trick, thrilled that her implant no longer shields her from the world, begins showing Sarah a series of videos, ranging from gore to nudity, a rapid-fire crash course in everything she's missed growing up under her mother's constant supervision. As time goes on, Mary finally retires the parental hub for good, tucking it away in the attic. Sarah begins to grow into a mostly normal teenager, no longer under her mother's relentless watch. One day, she notices that Trick, now older, has a car. He invites her and her friend Meryl to spend the afternoon at Lake Delston. Sarah hesitates, but she and Meryl fabricate a story about visiting another friend's house for a movie night to cover for their parents. Sarah tells Mary the same lie, and Mary, trusting her, allows her to go. While Mary heads out on a date, the teens enjoy a bonfire at the lake, sharing drinks and intimacy by the water. Later, Mary tries to call Sarah, but there's no answer. Alarmed, she checks with the friend's mother, who denies any movie night, and Mary slowly realizes she's been deceived. She calls everyone she knows, but no one can account for her daughter's whereabouts. Panicking, Mary retrieves the parental hub from the attic and logs in, tracing Sarah to the far edge of Lake Delston, almost 5 miles away. Turning on the optical feed, she's confronted with the sight of her daughter intimately involved with Trick. When Sarah returns home, Mary doesn't confront her about the lake or Trick. Instead, she's struck by how easily her daughter managed to lie. The next day, Sarah claims she'll be late due to a project with Meryl, but Mary remains wary. After school, Sarah meets Trick again. She's drawing a design in her notebook and asks Trick to paint it on his van. He refuses, citing the need to keep the van anonymous while making deliveries, a side job involving cocaine. Sarah insists on seeing the drugs and eventually tries some herself. Mary receives a spike alert from the parental hub and flips on the optical feed at precisely the wrong moment. She witnesses her daughter snorting cocaine while Trick laps around in the background. Furious, and understandably so, considering the innocent toddler she once watched over has now gotten involved with a drug dealer, Mary scans Trick's image, traces his workplace to a furniture warehouse, and confronts him the next day. Trick initially denies everything, but when Mary shows him the evidence from the hub, he realizes the system is still active. Mary issues a stern warning: stay away from her daughter, or she'll turn the cocaine video over to the authorities.
You want the cops in on this?
I didn't do anything.
I will show them what you did.
Trick disappears completely, leaving Sarah heartbroken and confused. She confronts him, but he coldly says he wants nothing to do with her. Meanwhile, Mary continues monitoring her daughter closely through the parental hub. One night, an alert prompts her to rush out, and the next day she crushes some pills into Sarah's smoothie before school. In history class, Sarah suddenly feels ill, rushing to the bathroom to vomit. The school nurse collects a sample, initially suspecting a virus, but discovers remnants of an emergency contraceptive pill, something Sarah never took herself. Piecing the clues together, Sarah returns home and scavenges the trash, finding the pill packaging. Her suspicions confirmed, she searches for the parental hub, locates it in its hidden cabinet, and turns it on. Watching the feed, she sees the footage of herself with Trick, finally realizing what her mother has done. Shocked and betrayed, Sarah packs her belongings and begins preparing to run away. As Sarah hears Mary's car pull into the driveway, she braces herself. When Mary comes inside, she's met with chaos, food and dishes strewn across the kitchen. She rushes upstairs to check the parental hub, but when she activates the optical feed, all she sees is her own back. Turning around, Mary finds Sarah standing behind her, eyes blazing with anger. Sarah explodes, accusing her mother of spying on her through the Archangel system. Mary stammers, insisting she only wanted to protect her, but Sarah isn't listening. In a surge of fury, she wrests the hub from Mary's grip and begins toggling the switches, intending to shut it down. In the struggle, the vision filter accidentally turns back on. Mary tries to grab the hub, but Sarah spins and smacks her with it. The filter obscures the injuries, so Sarah continues hitting her mother repeatedly, unaware of the harm she's inflicting. Only when the filter finally shuts off does she see the full extent, Mary lying unconscious, her face battered and bleeding. When Mary regains consciousness, Sarah is gone. The hub is shattered, leaving her completely blind to her daughter's whereabouts. Panicked, Mary runs into the streets, screaming Sarah's name and frantically checking the broken device, but it's no use. Sarah has vanished, leaving Mary helpless, and that's where the story ends.